Liam, the Deaf Doom Metalhead, and I'm doing a vinyl update today. I haven't done one of these in absolutely ages, and I've got a nice tasty pile of quite a few brand new releases here. Mainly death metal, there is some doom in there obviously, and you know, kind of mix it up a little bit towards the end, but it's pretty much all really heavy shit, which, you know, I absolutely love. And this is probably the only vinyl update this week, or maybe these 2 weeks, where there's not the new Iron Maiden album shown. I do like me some Iron Maiden, but I really am not that excited about the new release. That will be a bargain buy when it goes down in price, because, you know, I'm not that excited about it. So sorry guys, if you're looking for an Iron Maiden album review, you'll never find it here anyway, but this album I'm really excited about, and this is probably my most anticipated album of the year, and I must say it did not disappoint. It completely satisfied me in every single way, and it gave me a few new surprises, and that is the new Hooded Menace album. This is their 6th full length, called the Tritonus Bell. Came out through Seasons of Mist, and this is incredible. A 10 out of 10 album for me straight away. I've listened to this about 5 times and I still haven't got bored of it yet. The riffs on this are superb, the best they've done in ages. I mean, I love this band and every single release is solid for me. You know, there's not a bad album from Hooded Menace. Hooded Menace are a Finnish death doom band. Mainly all the music, if not all of it, is written by a chap called Lasse Pico. Can't pronounce his surname, but his name will pop up down there. He does all the writing, and I must say he has the best guitar tone on any death doom album I've ever heard. In death metal, doom metal in general, even metal as a whole, his guitar tone is perfect for me. The tones on the harmonies, just the richness, the crispness, and this album really steps up that tone to like really high levels. I guess because of the new technology involved, you can kind of get better tones. It's just incredible how good the guitar tone is, and I'm a massive nerd for stuff like that. So when it sounds just right, it hooks you in. Now, Hooded Menace, as you can guess, were Hood's very sinister kind of music. It's all horror themed, and the artwork is amazing for this release. All their albums have got solid artwork, but what is different about this release compared to the others, this is probably their most accessible album they've ever done. And when I say that, it's got more groove in it, it's a bit more upbeat. There's still that classic old school Hooded Menace sound where the riffs are very Candlemass-esque and how they build, but this has like a cross between traditional heavy metal, power metal, and then the death doom. It's like Lasse has listened to all those kind of styles of music and then kind of put it all into one album. I mean, on this album it's guttural vocals, there's a little bit of clean in there, and there's a female vocal towards the end of the album. But if you put, like, say, Messiah from Candlemass in it, this would just be a really heavier version of Candlemass. It's that kind of vein. And also Eternal Champion, I was getting loads of vibes of that band in this release. Like some of the riffs and how the power chords are played, and the kind of, you know, the way it attacks on the rhythm. Very power metal sounding, and I fucking love it, I really do. It's just so refreshing to hear an album like this, because death doom bands at the moment, they're all about the atmosphere, they're all about the sludginess, all the heaviness, which I love. But this album is 10 tons heavier because it doesn't try to be heavy, it just plays really good, groovy riffs. There's no horrible atmosphere kind of effects, anything like that. It's all pure harmonies and just good riffing, like really good riffing, and I can't rate this highly enough. So if you haven't checked this album out at all, I will obviously leave links below. But this will be very, very, very high on my end of year list, if not my top album. And I had a list in my head already of what I think is my top 5, and then this came along and kind of shat all over it, so which you'll see by the end of the year. But this is incredible, and I'm still jamming it in my head now. I can already hear the riffs. So if you haven't gone and checked it out yet, please do so, because it's a killer album. It's only black vinyl, no inlay, you know, just lyrics on the inside. But oh, I might as well show you the vinyl. It's not black vinyl, I'm talking out my arse. It is a special edition. The next album isn't a special edition. So I got the kind of clear blue with purple, white, all that kind of thing in there. And yeah, limited to I think 200 copies. There's a purple one and a bone white, or like a marble white one as well. And then obviously black as well. So yeah, Hooded Menace, go check it out, it's killer. Right, now this next one was kind of, I ummed and ahed about buying it for absolutely ages. And then the more I listened to it, the more I really got into it. Now, death metal this year has been, again, more on the extreme side, more sludgy, more horrible. who can be the most chugginess, the most morbid sounding, and there's loads of bands with like kind of oozing themes. This album kind of strips away from all that. It's more of a dry sound, very, very technical, and it played with that kind of almost like Death, the band Death. It's got that vibe to it a lot, and also a pinch of, on the vocal style, of Danny Filth, with the earlier kind of Cradle of Filth. Now the band is called Crypta. This is a 2021 release as well, called Echoes of the Soul, came out through Napalm Records. This is a pure death metal band, but what's really unique about it is the fact that, not just because of what I'm about to tell you, but it's just the riffing on it. So it's an all-female band. So these girls here have created something really heavy, very melodic, very memorable, very catchy, but also it harkens back to the very sound of Death on Sound of Perseverance. It's got that vibe to it, for me anyway. And like I say, the vocal style reminds me a little bit of Danny Filth and how it's, you know, kind of attacked and that kind of screechy sound. Now the band, it features two former members of the thrash band Nervosa, which is a pretty cool Brazilian all-female thrash band. This lady here is the vocalist who was in Nervosa, and this lady here is the drummer. She was also in Nervosa. Over here, I think her name is Sonia. She was in the Burning Witches briefly. I forget this girl's name here, but she hasn't been in any bands that I know of, but I will say both these two here sell this album to me big time. The drumming's amazing as well. But what's nice about it is not only because it's a death metal band that's easy on the eye, let's be honest, when you go to a gig and you see a load of fat, sweaty, hairy men that smell like arse, you know, and you're standing down the front going, this is fucking amazing, but they smell so bad. I imagine you won't get that vibe with these ladies. But musically, it really catchy, really catchy. Like the solos, I can hum them in my head now, I remember them, and that's what really sold it for me, was the music, because the drumming is really Pete Sandoval-esque as well. It's very thrashy, very dirty, very double kicky. Absolutely love it. And then the guitar solos come in, and the riffs are very chuggy, Morbid Angel-esque to a point, but it reminded me a lot more of Death. And yeah, an album that really surprised me, because on the cover that didn't really draw me in at all. It was purely listening to it on Spotify, and the more I listened to it, the more I got into it. Then you see the girls kind of doing the behind the scenes, and they're just having fun, and being in a band as well, you know, you can pretend to be a really serious, scary death metal person, but in real life you're probably not. Like everyone I know that's into death metal are complete girls in real life, and we all have a laugh, and you know, it's not serious at all, it's the complete opposite. So seeing a band like that, it kind of made me appreciate them more, and then when you watch them do the playthroughs, you realise how shit of a guitar player you are, because these girls are really good on their instruments, all of them, all solid musicians. So if you haven't checked Crypta out, really recommend this as well. Very strong album. And going by death metal terms, this one stands out a lot to me. There's about 3 or 4 this year that are standout albums death metal wise, not because they're different, it's because they're doing something. Well, they are doing something different musically. They are changing how other bands are approaching it, which you'll probably see through this collection update, that some of these sound pretty much the same, whereas this one doesn't. So yeah, go check that out. Shifting gears down to first gear, we're going to Funeral Doomers / Gothic / Death Doom / Epic Death Doom. You know, they've got everything in this band. The band is Funeral from Norway. This is their 2012 album, and this is their current release. They haven't put anything out since 2012, called Oratorium. This came out through Grau Records, if you've heard of them, because I haven't. Now, I'm a big fan of this band. I have everything by them, and what they do, every album is different. Formed in '91, and I believe they recorded in the same studio as My Dying Bride and Paradise Lost here in the UK, and then went back over to Norway. So this is very much in that vein of My Dying Bride, Paradise Lost from the 90s, and as the years have gone on, they've kind of changed their sound. Some of their albums have got like operatic vocals for a female singer, really cool album, and then they've gone to the more guttural vocals. But this album is more of a spoken word kind of type with a weird effect on it, so it's kind of sounds really miserable, hence the name Funeral. Fits with the theme of the music, and it's very melodic, very heavy. With Doom, you can kind of do it where you build it up, and then when you hit those big power chord riffs, it just crushes you, and this album does that perfectly. But the lyrics are really clever as well, very depressing. like song titles like Will You Have Me, Making the World My Tomb, Break Me, Hate's an interesting one, but I won't tell you why, but you can look it up online or listen to it and you'll see the lyrics aren't what you think they would be. It's quite clever. There's a picture of the band there. Now I know in this band there's been history of a couple of them committing suicide, which obviously isn't great. So this band is very much a project of misery. You know, there's no chirpy songs on this whole discography of this band, hence the name Funeral, I guess. But I'm really looking forward to some new music by these guys because they do really change it every single album. So if you've never checked out Funeral, this is probably a good place to start, and then you work your way back, because they've had like Robert Lowe from Solitude Eternus do guest vocals on some songs. You know, really, really heavy bands. So if you like your Norwegian Death Doom, which you probably don't because there's not that many, go check out Funeral. Right, this album is another death metal album. Pretty much all these are now death metal albums. But I will say this is probably the best death metal album of the year for me. There's, like I said, there's a few more, and I need to kind of wait till the end of the year to see where they're at for me mentally. But at the moment, this one tops them all. Russian Gosudar with the album Morbid, Despotic, Ritual. This came out through Rotted Live this year, and like I say, this is the standout death metal album of the year for me for a couple of reasons. The tone on it is spot on. It's dirty, murky, but not over factored with sound effects. It's kind of just got that kind of raw, natural recorded sound. So you can kind of picture them, they're in the studio, they just kind of hit record and they, you know, crank on with it. 3-piece there, and this is very, very hooky. There's riffs for days on this album. That everywhere I listen to it, there's riffs everywhere, and then the solos kind of add to it with more atmosphere than just technicality. It's more, they create an atmosphere with a solo and then hit you with another big riff, and then there'll be like an odd time signature change or a groove riff kind of thrown in to kind of break up the song, and yeah, it just flows really good. So if you're a fan of like Blood Incantation and stuff like that, you will get a real good kick out of this. And I know a lot of people have talked about this. Dante, who kind of watches my videos now and again and comments below, he's the one that got me into this, so thank you, mate. He I think it was Instagram, he kind of told me to go check this out, or on YouTube, I can't remember. He kind of commented to say go check it out, and yeah, I did, because I do check everyone's recommendations out, and I was floored by this, and I've listened to this for absolutely ages. So I had this a good couple of months now, so yeah, really, really cool album, so go check that one out. A lot of these I've actually had a while now, but this one I've only had a couple of weeks. Complete blind buy, and I love it. So this is a Canadian death metal band. This is another 2021 release, put out through Willertip Records, and that is the band Intonate with Severed Within. Now I've seen no one talk about this album yet, or even this band. This is their second full length. This came out, well, they formed in 2013. I think they had an album in 2016 maybe, and then they've got 2021's release right here. You've got 2, 4, 5 tracks, and yeah, absolutely killer band. Really reminds me a lot of, there's hints of Immolation, and then there's a progressive side to their music because they're quite technical, but in the like bands like Ulcerate and stuff like that from New Zealand, where it's brutal, very riffy, very shreddy, and very complicated to learn. And it's kind of got that vibe to it, and then it hits you with those kind of grooves like Immolation do, so it really has a strong nod to that. The pressing I got is a grey kind of swirly black LP. I believe there's a black one as well, and there is an inlay in here, but it's nothing special, it's just the band logo and lyrics. But yeah, I mean, like I said, this was a blind buy for me. I kind of saw the price of it on Amazon and it was really cheap. And it was progressive death metal, and I like progressive death metal, and yeah, absolutely spot on album, really impressed with it. Like I say, it reminded me a lot of Immolation, and I like Immolation a lot, so if you haven't checked these guys out, really strongly recommend it as well, because no one is talking about this, and it is a really, really cool album, so go check it out. Now this is an old one. Now I got this in London last week. I went to a gig for the first time in 2.5 years, saw Celestial Sanctuary, Slime Lord, Mortuary Spawn and Vacuous in London. Went down there, it's about a 2.5 hour drive for me, so not far. And it was nice to do something normal for a change outside of Norfolk, because I've been on holiday recently. I haven't done anything that I wanted to do like I would do normally, like a gig or anything like that. So it was really cool to do that. And I went with my brother and we went record shopping in Camden. and he owed me some money, and I said to me, why don't you buy me this record? Because I found it just randomly in a load of Kiss records. I think there was like Bon Jovi, all sorts of shite lying around, and this just kind of stood out, and I've been after this for quite a while. Now, it's a Turkish death metal band called Burial Invocation, and I think it's called Abiogenesis. This came out through Saco and Oho Records in 2018. And if you've never heard of this band, they are Turkish death metal band. So Turkish death metal is very intense, it's very heavy, very riff laden, but it's very intense. So there's no slow build ups, no epic moments. It's just intense, in your face, technical riffing, and it kind of builds from there. Now, this band shares members with the bands Engulfed, if you've heard of them, and I think the other one, I did write it down over here, Diabolza, who just released an album this year. So the Turkish death metal scene is a very strong scene, and if you can find the right bands, you get a lot for your money. This album, musically, it's got loads going on. Dan Seagrave artwork, if you haven't noticed already, and a really solid album. I really enjoyed this, and I've been looking for it for quite a while, but the price is always a bit silly. Just black vinyl, nothing special. I believe there's a blue version that you can pick up. But yeah, I was really chuffed to find this. I mean, this was between Love Gun by Kiss and a Bon Jovi record by memory, and it was quite funny how this just kind of popped out of nowhere, and it wasn't alphabetically, you know, it was just a big pile of records. So I haven't done that for ages, to kind of go record shopping and just kind of look through every single one just in case there is a gem, because there was an artillery record I wanted as well, but I didn't have enough money, so I went with this one instead because I've been after this for a long time. So go check that one out, that's a really good album. Now this one as well, I've had a little while now, and I've been listening to it on and off. Again, this is one I should have got last year and never got around to picking it up. This is a 2019 release through 20 Bucks Spin, Canadian death metal again. This is Tomb Mold with Planetary Clairvoyance. And if you don't know who Tomb Mold are, they are those chaps there, and they kind of play in the vein of Autopsy and a few other death metal bands, where it's like got an old school kind of vibe to it, but it's got a technical edge to it. Sci-fi themed, but it's also based off the Bloodborne video games and Dark Souls, I think it is. I'm terrible at those games. I've got Dark Souls 2 on the Xbox, and I was shit at it, so I kind of just shelved it straight away because I just lost my rag with it straight away. But these guys are heavily inspired by the lore of that game, and that cover is killer. Now this has been repressed several times, and luckily in the UK we have Dry Cough Records that get in 20 Bucks Spin, so you can normally get the kind of limited edition pressings through them. My one looks like that, and I've been after this for a while, and the prices for it could be really, really high. But luckily, like I say, Dry Cough, they don't rip you off, and he only charged me like 20 quid for this, which is, you know, what you want to kind of pay. Comes with a few nice little inserts. I think with the repress you get one with the full artwork on it, so you can open it up. You've got that there, which is absolutely killer. So that's the full artwork, and then you turn it around and you have that there with their awesome logo. But I absolutely love that. I would get that framed. That's that good. And then the inlay kind of has more artwork on it going on there. Very, like I say, spacey kind of vibe to it. And then lyrics and thank yous on the back. So yeah, absolutely stellar album. Really, really cool band. And you know, everyone knows Tomb Mold. I've only got the first full length to get now, and I've got everything by them studio album wise. So yeah, great band, Tomb Mold. Canada seems to do the best death metal at the moment. It's one of those countries that every single band that comes out there is absolutely killer. Don't know why, but you know, must be something in the water. Now, these next three I've had for ages and I haven't shown them. They are all Rotted Life releases, and all killer. This one is Coffin Rot. Now, there is two versions of Coffin Rot in the States, but these ones are from Portland, Oregon, and this is absolutely amazing. I absolutely love this album. Recommended to me by Anthony over at Metal Miners channel. I kind of knew about it, but I never checked it out, and he kind of said to me, and he does a lot, just go listen to this, and I do, because I trust his judgment, and he was spot on with this. So how he sold it to me was the guitar tone is just perfect, and he's dead right. The guitar tone on this is how a death metal album should sound to me. It's got really thick chugginess to it. Sounds like a Marshall JCM 800 in my ears, just really overdriven, and it's got a nice crunch to it. I could be dead wrong though, but either way, it's an absolute fantastic album. It's got thrashy elements to it. I think it's really chuggy and slimy and slow, and then it picks up again. You know, it has everything you want. Really, really cool band. There's no, oh, there is an inlay in there. So you've got lyrics on that side there with the artwork. You can see it, and then a picture of the band there. So yeah, really, really cool band. I'm not sure what else they've got out. I think this is their only studio full length. There is demos and EPs and stuff like that, but this is the only full length they've done. And yeah, really, really cool band. I really, really like that. I still jam that quite regularly, but more digitally than on LP, because I like to kind of not listen to my vinyl too much. Right, this next one is one I kind of blind bought after watching Ken's Crypt Fest that happened a fair few months ago now. Kind of watched all the bands. I knew all of them bar two, and this was one of them I didn't know. I had it in my Amazon wishlist for ages, not knowing what it was, but the price was really cheap. And then as soon as that Crypt Fest happened, Amazon must have watched it as well, because the price just went fucking through the roof. So I was like, oh, I'm not buying that. But randomly here in the UK, we have a store chain called WH Smith, and on the high street, it's just a magazine shop with pens and pencils, all that kind of thing. But online, they have a vinyl store, and you can buy some really, really obscure death metal through them for a really good price. And this is one of them. This is Phobophilic with Undimensioned Identities. Came out through Rotted Life and Blood Harvest as well, same as the other one before that. And this is their EP from 2019. The band are from North Dakota and formed in 2017. This is grimy death metal again. There's some doomy touches in there, very riffy, and yeah, absolutely killer band. Really, I don't think they're that old either, quite young guys. Inlay looks like this. And of course they're all playing BC Rich guitars, because nowadays if you're in a death metal band, I think that's the thing you have to have, is the Iron Bird. Sadly I don't have one. Andy, in consecration with me, he has 3 BC Rich guitars, so he's already winning in life there. But yeah, a really cool band, and it's just something a little bit different. Their riff writing is very choppy and very start-stoppy, and you know, there's technical elements to it, but you can't predict the riffs at all. It's very much a band that are going to go up and up and up, I imagine, as they carry on. And they do remind me a little bit of Blood Incantation, just in the style and the approach. So you could say they're kind of borrowing from their formula that's already tried and tested. So go check these guys out, because they are a really, really cool band. I'm not really sure what's going on with the artwork. If you kind of look closely, you can kind of see like skulls and stuff like that within it. But yeah, really, really cool band. Like I said, that was a WH Smith purchase, as well as this one. Now this band I was made aware of by Brian Arkham, who's also a YouTuber. He showed this, I believe this is an EP, ages ago on CD, and I tried to buy it as soon as I saw it. Death Doom band, sold out everywhere, and you know, I haven't seen it for ages. And then I was randomly on WH Smith looking through the vinyl, and then this was another one that was just there for a really silly price, and that is Exaugurate with Chasm of Rapturous Delirium, another Rotted Life release. And this is killer. Death Doom, sludgy, horrible, very riffy, and these guys were also on Ken's Death Metal Crypt, on the Crypt Fest. And yeah, I was sold. I mean, Brian kind of sold it to me absolutely ages ago, and I was really, really chuffed, and I'm kind of gutted I couldn't find it anywhere, and I thought I kind of missed the boat, because I was going to try and get it on tape, but when I found it on LP, I was just like, fuck yeah, I'm having that. Now weirdly enough, this band shares members from Cemetery Filth, if you know that death metal band. It's a stateside band, but also Crucimentum, which is a London-based band. One of the guys, I think it's him, is also in that band, which is interesting because these guys are on total opposite sides of the planet. But he's also in that band. Very good London-based death metal band, if you don't know them. But yeah, black vinyl again, nothing special. Really, really cool EP. And I'm really looking forward to more from these guys, because, you know, death metal at the moment is fantastic. You can find so much good death metal if you just kind of look underground. You know, the mainstream labels are obviously chucking out the, you know, the bigger ones. If you go fishing around, especially like Rotted Life, this label, you know, there's absolutely tons of killer on there. So go check it out. Go check them all out. So yeah, thank you for sticking with me this long. If you have, a bit long, but you know, I had to get through because I love vinyl still. but obviously due to the pandemic, vinyl is incredibly hard to get hold of at the moment, especially for bands that are trying to get an album out like myself. You know, the delay is months and months and months just to get it pressed. So hopefully it'll sort itself out, and you know, it'll just be a distant memory and there'll be a film about it like Titanic in 10 years time or something like that. I don't know. So if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing and liking this video if you've watched it to the end as a thank you, you know, whatever. I don't know what I'm talking about. I've got loads of new subscribers recently, I do know that much though, and I'm very, very grateful. The whole point of this channel is to support death metal, doom metal, you know, just bands in general, so that, you know, you check it out and you get something out of it. Got some really cool messages from people recently kind of thanking me for discovering new bands, which is just insane, because the only reason I do it is purely just to show my nerdiness for metal. So if you like what you saw, check out the other videos, and I'll speak to you guys soon. Cheers.